What does it mean to be educated? Does it mean getting a Harvard degree? Does it mean getting a PhD? Well, no. I think most of us would agree that education is something far more inclusive and all-encompassing. It covers not just developing a person's mind, but also somehow releasing their potential so that they can accomplish amazing things in this world. In today's interview, you'll explore that from the point of view of none other than entrepreneurship. So, enjoy the interview. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another edition of Pathways to Excellence. It is my honor today to welcome Mr. Cerventus right here onto the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Victor.
Of course, yes. Interesting story for how we met right here in a bush.
Pretty much in the bush, yes.
Pretty much in the bush. Anyway, thanks for appearing on the show, man.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Appreciate it. Cool. So anyway, Cerventus right here is a true community builder involved in TedXKL and also creator of the Facebook group Entrepreneurs and Startups in Malaysia.
Yeah.
And wow, it's been a while, right? Like this group basically started.
The group has been. We started a group as an experiment when Facebook launched groups. I took it over control in December 2018, so about January 2019, like that. So at that point in time, it was a fairly stagnant, full of spam, about 8,000 people. It's fairly different now.
I see. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I like to kind of draw your attention, in fact, to a recent post that you made on the group. It is, of course, like a group that's dedicated to entrepreneurs and startups in Malaysia, of course.
Yes.
And of course, serves the entrepreneur community right there in ways that, of course, are related to education, which we'll explore in a quick bit right here. But first, I'd like to, remind you of a post that you made recently.
Sure.
I feel like I need to write this down. It does not matter this group gets famous. It does not matter us admin gets famous. All we care is your business gets famous and you make money and grow. All we care is Malaysia gets famous for being a darn good place to build businesses. Because we believe in the potential of entrepreneurs in Malaysia. We hope to be shadow to your success. We hope to be the root to your growth.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when you were thinking about this?
No. So I felt like, you know what? There's the reason why we get people thanking us. We get people messaging me. It's like, hey, I learned a lot from the group, and etc.
Cool.
It's like, yeah, we provide value, but if you don't remember us, fine, it's okay.
I think awesome. Okay.
I think the way you want to think of it is to quote Danzo. We are the root that hold Konoha up.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, but I'm not Danzo.
Moving onwards.
No, but there are people that do the dirty work, and there's always people that do the dirty work. And for me, it's the dirty work. It's a lot of work for a lot of flag. I think we're serving a purpose.
I see. Okay.
One of the things that I truly believe is Malaysia has amazing potential. The entrepreneurs are amazing. I think I'm very fortunate with over the years I have worked with, witnessed, and get to know entrepreneurs that are doing so crazy stuff that you were like, Malaysia, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Then at the point in time, a lot of people will be like, yeah, there's not much potential in Malaysia. There's nothing. But I think we are strangely strategically positioned to get to a lot of places in Southeast Asia. Malaysia is such an easy place to fly with. Accessibility is there. Culturally, we understand a lot of things. There's so much opportunities for the entrepreneurs in Malaysia to do that. That's something that I feel like this is something we should actually highlight in the group.
Pathways to Excellence aims to highlight essentially the potential of people within Malaysia and also at large. And mainly, it is essentially focused upon education as reflected by the guests who have come into essentially this podcast so far.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'd like to explore really is the whole idea of an education that is beyond essentially just degrees or essentially just formal qualifications. And that's one of the reasons I invited Cerventus here today. Because the idea, in fact, of education, it comes from the Latin educere, which is basically to bring out a potential in various different ways.
Okay.
So to kind of start off this discussion about education, so maybe could you, I guess, talk to me about your own personal understanding of education and also your own educational journeys?
I feel like there's the sense that there's always the formal education, but I think a lot of things that I learned is very informal. Back in school, I'm what we call an outstanding student because I'm mostly outside and standing. That was by my own design, actually. Back in high school, I was actually the only student that have a key to the principal office. I represented the school,
Okay.
and that it was the highest spec computer back then.
Okay.
So of course it would be placed in the office of the principal.
I see.
But because we won it, so I have access to it.
Ah.
And I built, because of that, I helped to build out. I built up the school. We were one of the first school in Malaysia that have a website and so there's a lot of stuff.
SMK St. Francis, right?
San Francisco, yeah, in Malacca.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
There were stuff online. That was the RRC days, basically, if I were to say. But there were a lot of things that we were still trying to learn about, like building website, HTML, and etc. Those are stuff that I don't learn in school.
I see.
Those are the stuff that I don't learn in class. But even like leadership, running the computer club, I'm very into computers back in the day. Still in the computer, still in the technology, but that wasn't taught in school.
I see.
And it was like I took it upon myself to learn how to build a computer, learn about how do we do phone freaking, how do
like the whole like Captain Crunch blow the whistle and then basically then you can
actually there's a lot because that era there's an easy way to do it in terms of that. That's like,
would you maybe share about like I guess like that full like formal education journey? Because like of course like you may have essentially gone from, let's say, like school over to like university as well. Like did you personally take a journey that was like that?
No, so like I think I was a product of the Multimedia Super Corridor MSc dream of turning Cyberjaya into the Silicon Valley of this part of the world.
Yeah.
So therefore I enrolled in MMU, which was supposed to be the Stanford of this part of the world.
Okay.
We had amazing lecturers in faculty, basically, because a lot of the lecturers came from MIT. Professor Prof. Gao was our Vice Chancellor. Professor Yu Hong Tak was MIT. There was a lot of pedigree in that era.
Wow.
But I find myself more gravitated towards building business. Like we founded a startup that was actually the first startup that was funded by MMU back in the day. So everything was really experimental. Everything was even back in university, everyone had to go to class. I had two offices in uni. One office is basically the office of my startup that was actually funded by the university in our incubator.
Mm-hmm.
The other office was actually because I ran the university editorial team. I have another office. Yeah.
So it sounds like you had a lot of extracurricular activities.
Yeah, so I feel that a lot of informal stuff actually end up being foundational towards what I end up doing, instead of the stuff I learned in class.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think if I were to say anything, like whatever I can do in class was more of a MVP, minimum viable product, just enough to hit whatever I need to hit.
Okay.
The vast majority of my focus is really outside.
I see. Wow.
And like I represented Malaysia in in a lot of youth conferences. I represented Malaysia in a whole bunch of various random contests and stuff like that, which I also don't remember what.
Okay.
No, like there were really random stuff, like because I know I could, like during like the contest we won for won that computer, we literally devastated the other teams. Like there's no other way to put it this way, because it came to a point that
What actually did you do to?
no, it was a computer quiz, but everyone was like, can someone not besides SFI answer the question?
Oh dear! It sounds like they had a traumatic experience.
Yeah, but like those were the stuff that I really got excited.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Then maybe will you share a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey then, and also like whether you think in an alternate scenario or an alternate history, right, where you had not gone to MMU, right, do you think that you would have been able to do the same things, or do you think that it's
I think hindsight 2020, I was not I didn't know about what is entrepreneurship. I didn't know about business. I didn't know about community. I didn't know what. It's just like I just thought like, oh, you know what? I like tech. Let's do stuff around tech.
Okay, then what is entrepreneurship?
I think entrepreneurship is really about finding value that people don't see and bringing up to the masses or bringing up to that. It's not only just about starting business. You can be entrepreneurial in your. It's a very well butchered word. Like there's like entrepreneur where you are entrepreneur within an organization, solopreneurs, and there's so many. But the French word for entrepreneur actually started in terms of like bringing value, basically. And
Entrepreneur is like between, and then preneur is like take, right? Between taker, inter-taker.
Between value, like creating value. That's if my memory serves me correct. If I'm wrong, shoot me on. It's okay. No. I don't quite recall it because it's like it's a word that I don't. It's a word that I use a lot, but I also don't like.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. You use a lot, but you also don't like.
Well, there's a lot of reason. How do you spell it?
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah, but that's most people won't have the
Can't have two.
Yeah, they'll get the E's and the R mix-ups.
Sure.
It's such a word like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur. But are you entrepreneurial? That's very different.
That's a different thing altogether.
That's a very different thing altogether.
Because like some people maybe like they have that ability to say that they want to become an entrepreneur, but maybe they don't necessarily have like the grit, the iron in them to basically make certain things happen.
It's a tough and lonely and I'll say very challenging journey. Like I was always attracted to that. If I did not start my first business in MMU, or if I never end up going to MMU, my initial goal was Imperial. I think my other thing of pursuit was to look at astrophysics. Yeah, but then I thought about it this way. It's like, what's the employment rate of astrophysics? Who can I employ?
That seems
being
like
being a very Asian, I'm like, you know what? Let's start something more practical. So it was com science, computer engineering.
I see.
IT.
That's very practical.
Much more practical, pragmatic. So you have the theoretical physics, and then you have the like applicational physics, basically.
Damn, I should have brought a telescope.
Oh, I do.
You do have a telescope.
I have a Newtonian.
5 minutes later.
So, would you share maybe a little bit about your own personal entrepreneurial journey? Because of course, like you did share that you started the first business. So maybe like, would you share like how, I guess like that pathway or that decision, right, to go into entrepreneurship has played out over the years?
I think it wasn't a pathway that I set up. It was a series of accidents. I stayed in Malacca. Malacca, I could have received Singapore channel. And so I was watching the Singapore news and there was this craze in McDonald's selling Hello Kitties. And I know it will happen in Malaysia in 2 weeks' time. So I actually save up some money, buy a whole bunch of Hello Kitties, and then start selling it over on IRC actually. And it's like on forums and on IRC. And my cost was about 15 ringgit back in the day. I sold it for 80 ringgit, 80 to 300 ringgit.
Wow. Okay.
Depending how desperate the buyer is. The reason I want to do it is just because I was in Malacca. I want to have money to go to KL and spend.
See.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, someone is willing to buy this. Okay, let's go to KL, hang out with my friends.
I see.
And etc. The other thing was like, I ran the computer club. The computer club was, in hindsight, was very profitable. But we were just organizing activities just to make money for the club. We raised enough money to actually have 30 computers. Oh, sorry, not 30 computers, probably about 20 over computers back in the day. And there was a lot of things over the years, but we did not figure out that it was entrepreneurial. But it was just like a series of accidents that I thought,
Wow, so thanks for sharing that. So just out of curiosity, right, do you think that entrepreneurship can be taught?
I would like to quote the folks from NUS Enterprise. Entrepreneurship cannot be taught. It can only be caught. Which I do resonate with a lot because I feel like there are things that you can teach for that, but I think the entrepreneurship is the spirit of it. The hard skills you can teach. How to pitch, you can train people to do that. How to do a business plan, a business model canvas, how to sell, all those are skills. The spirit of it, you need to catch it. You need to be infected by it, basically.
I see. Okay. What do you see as the role of education, perhaps helping people learn how to take initiative or perhaps to do things that are of value to their community? Because that's something that you did mention at the outset, right?
I think education does play an important role because it allows people to have this foundation and then this canvas to do stuff. And the thing that I really feel that education should be is to be basically to build out this foundation to enable people to reach whatever potential they want to do. Because you never know what you never know. So you do not know, if you do not know about this, you never know about this other stuff or etc. And what education should do is to nurture creativity, nurture people to be inquisitive, nurture people to actually have like logical thinking, have really sound judgment. And I think that's one of the things that I feel like the education system generally have failed, because it's about like just word memorizing. And yes, it's valid. You can be very sharp in terms of memorizing. You can plug out numbers and extra, but where's the logic out there? Where is the critical thinking? Where are all the stuff that education should be that foundation. And with all this series of foundation, that's where you have your canvas, and that's where you can actually start to paint your picture of your future.
I see. Okay. And so, when you think about, say, the future or like even the things that people are doing, right? So then perhaps there are certain skills that may be important towards essentially, becoming a well-educated person, or somebody who can contribute value to their communities, whether entrepreneurship or otherwise. Do you think that there are, some specific ways that people should develop skills, or do you feel that essentially that some environments where it would be better for a person to develop skills so that they can contribute to their community?
No, so that's where actually I think like formal education, tertiary education should be the process of that. A lot of my leadership skills, a lot of the skills that I actually end up employing and experimenting, because I was given a very fertile environment to experiment, to be able to try stuff. And I felt that was something that MMU did very well at the early days. I'm not the only entrepreneurs that came out of MMU. My generation, my batch, you see so many founders that actually came up from MMU. AK from Amo Studio is actually one of my junior. There are so many amazing examples of MMU founders that just came out of that because we were given the opportunity to try to make mistakes and make mistakes in the early stage of our life. Therefore, like later on, we could you know what? Let's start build something more significant.
Amazing. Okay. And so, as we move into now the age of AI and also technology in the days ahead, right? Do you feel that education needs to evolve in response to that?
I think education definitely needs to respond to that, but the teaching fundamentals in the sense that because you want to impart not knowledge, but also things that the student can learn throughout their life and things that the student can grow from throughout their life. And for the last couple of years, it was blockchain, it was all then AI, and there's going to be the next big thing out there. There's always going to be the next big thing, and as a race, humanity, we have to adapt. The often misquoted thing by Charles Darwin was basically it's the survival of the fittest, but it's not really just the survival of the fittest, it's the survival of the most adaptable species, basically. And if it's the fittest, we'll see all of us are basically carnivorous or what, but you look at the jellyfish, you have to adapt to the environment, basically.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or in sense of humanity, we have the slight edge to adapt the environment to us.
Okay.
And yes, the world will change. Education needs to change, but I don't think education can change at the pace of technology. Technology will always outpace education and regulation. But when you actually build that curiosity, you always build that sense in the student, they will be like lifetime learner. They've been learning forever. So they will be able to adapt and so on. And like you see some retirees are playing with ChatGPT, for example, right now. And they are doing stuff with Midjourney and etc. It's
Like my mom, like
yeah,
I
like
got her a computer and then literally just taught her how to use ChatGPT.
yeah, exactly. And that kind of thing needs to be nurtured into the student. And to me, that is the fundamental goal of education. It's not the fact that they can remember the logarithmic table or like name all 50 states.
Tell you that they went to Harvard within the first 5 seconds of your
Yep,
introduction.
yep. Those are side effect of education, basically.
I see.
The core there is in 50 years' time, can you adapt to whatever is being thrown to you?
So then, it's true that perhaps, well, technology will always outpace education, or perhaps the way that our social systems can adjust, right? But if you were to think about how educational institutions should adapt in some way, right, to move in the direction of continued relevance in the days ahead, what would you suggest?
This is really a tough one. On one hand, you want to have accreditation, basically. You can't simply offer like random courses and etc. But on the other hand, you also want to actually keep pace with that. I think I've seen a couple of interesting experiments out there, like is it Miranda?
Minerva?
Minerva, yes, sorry. Minerva is actually one interesting experiment to try to capture that. Singularity University was the other one, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of like think tanks and things trying to recreate what education should be. Even like e-learning and things to make it accessible.
Personalized learning.
Personalized learning,
AI.
AI learning. Yeah, there's so many things out there. I don't know what is I don't think there's a magic bullet, or I don't think there is actually something that can solve in terms of that, because like personalized learning for me is actually very important. I think a lot of people learn in different pace.
Mhm.
Coming from Malaysia, like public schools, basically, we are expected you are at this age, you should be able to do this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is the expectation.
Yeah. But it's hard, right? Because like,
Yeah, but it's hard.
if you think about like say education, that's a very big part of like an education, right? That comes from a person's own initiative. So then I guess like there is this constant question on my mind, right? Of like, how do you train initiative in the very first place?
You have to nurture interest. Like, I think at Form 3 I was like pretty much finished with physics in Form 4, Form 5. I pretty much know that I love physics, and I like that was what I was reading, basically.
I see.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I was like Form 3 I was doing literature, I was doing physics, I hated bio, and yeah. Yes.
But somehow that technology bug basically just bit you a lot.
No, technology bug has bitten me a very long time. I
Even beyond like those STEM subjects.
standard 4.
Right.
Yeah. When I was like standard 4, I got my first hand on, I think, basic, and we have to cross the school, because the primary school was across the field from the secondary school, the computer lab was at the secondary school, walk across there, and learn about Lotus 123, there was a MS-DOS. I want to say Word Perfect, but it's not Word Perfect. WordStar, that was the correct one. Then start to learn about building database, basic. Then I got very into TedXKL. Then it was C. Then it has always been a fascination of mine. I remember we were tasked to build this when I was I'll say Form 3 maybe. I can't recall. So you were basically supposed to build basically like a
tiny house.
Yeah, like a wooden structure where you keep key, there's an alarm, and etc. You're supposed to come up with a business paper, blah 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 blah. I just went crazy. So we miniaturized the circuit. Like me and my friend competed at how small can we just squeeze the circuit. Essentially, I squeezed it to a 50 cent. I mean, it's not like what Steve Wozniak could have done back in the day, but it's like, then when we showed that to the teacher, they were like, this is not correct. No, it's working what? How is it not correct? check the circuit. It's working. How is it? How is this not correct?
Well, in a lot of cases, like they want to have you follow a certain like mark scheme or format,
Yeah.
basically, rather than find the best possible solution.
It was basically the Vera board. Yeah, that was the term. You have one line of copper, so you're supposed to like, okay, you put your transistor here, you put your resistor here, and that. So, of course, we know this is like, there's a more efficient way of building this. Let's build it small. Then I 3D it a bit, so there is a certain part that the transistors were directly soldered into the resistor. So I have a very tiny circuit, and everyone was like,
I see.
this is wrong. How is that wrong?
Yeah. Like in the real world, definitely, some things they may seem apparently wrong, but like in reality they may work a lot better, right?
Yeah.
As the late Deng Xiaoping once said, it doesn't matter whether the cat is black or
或
white.
者是黑猫还是白猫，捉到老鼠的猫就是好猫。
Exactly. Well, that being said, right, so especially in the world of entrepreneurship, right, so that oftentimes, right, there is not necessarily one correct way of doing things.
Yes.
And so, I guess like when you think about Ensign and the way essentially that it's kind of like connecting entrepreneurs, right? So I guess like maybe, like at least what I've seen from your group so far is that it helps people to, I guess like learn different ways of sharing information, new ways of doing things. People mentor one another, and it's a very, very wholesome community out there.
Thank you.
And yeah, so how do you feel that your group has a role, I guess, in like fostering education? If not necessarily like, sharing like math problems. I don't think people do that in Ensign at all.
No,
I guess-
I mean, okay. To be frank, like math, like that's where like education comes in. Imagine someone wants to invest in your company. It's like, I'm going to put X amount of money for X amount of percentage of your company. And if you suck at math, or you never really think through it, it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Why? That means you're evaluating this, but actually at that evaluation, as that like basic math actually plays a role, basically.
I see.
And like, how do you figure out your P&L? Actually, that's basic math. How do you figure out certain stuff? Yeah, these are stuff that we learn through education. We brought it into business basically because those are stuff that I'm not talking about like, oh, fine, we need to go and learn orbital mechanics or something like that. I mean that's like my personal interest, but you don't have to learn orbital mechanics to actually run a business basically. Yeah.
I see. So I guess like, do you have any particular hopes, I guess, for like the education of like the next generation?
I think I would want to just like aim it in the sense that the motto for my high school was Agiko Agis. Agiko Agis is do what you're doing in Latin basically, but it also means whatever you do, do your best. As the Chinese will say, everything that can be a scholar. And entrepreneurship,
Everything what?
So everything can come out as scholar. Every field there is
Qualify as scholarship.
there's a scholar. Yeah. And I feel like people are too tied up in a box sometimes. I've come to a realization, anything can be a business, anything can be a startup, anything can be a research paper. We were talking about a research paper about graveyards, basically. No, it was a very good study. I'm
There's a
looking.
whole industry on this right here, and lots of people try to sell graveyard plots.
No, it's not even a graveyard report. It's actually using the data from graveyard to do some inference of some data. So it was so freaking interesting.
Okay.
I cannot review it because it's not really published up. The paper is not published. But hopefully we can review that soon. I hope the author will be able to publish that soon. The thing is this, like every time people say like, oh, there's just, you need to do this for your business. No, you need to find ways to break the rules. To figure out,
Break the rules.
yeah, you need to find a ways to break the rules of business basically. Someone say, hey, yeah, why do you want to open a cafe? Coffee business is like a cafe, ma. It's not a startup. Luckin Coffee, Zeus Coffee, to just name a few. Okay. Yeah. Recently, Kopiku, which just came out. You got Joel Neal invested in it. But then they said, oh, it's not a tech startup. No, it's a tech-enabled startup. Like I spoke to some of the founders of all these coffee companies. Like they are so data-oriented that you do not even. They know exactly if I do this, this is the result. I know these two coffee barista to the other end of the spectrum. Started a company that they only work like 8 days a month,
It is a month.
bringing in about close to 16,000 ringgit. Yeah. They only work over the weekends. So, like, who's happier? It really depends what you want. It's what you want, what you're willing to sacrifice, willing to go there. There's a guy I know who's have a SaaS company that is doing about 80,000 USD per month with 3 staff. Then there's another company that I know has about 80 staff that is doing about like 5 mil like that. So it's like both have their different headache, but both of them are happy as long as you figure out what you want to do, figure out what you're willing to sacrifice. There's no grass is greener. Like honestly, there's no real grass is greener when you water it.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Cool.
So if you choose to have a company, if you choose to build a unicorn, you need to understand these are the sacrifice I will be doing in order for me to achieve unicorn status. If you choose to build a lifestyle business, these are the things that work. Like there is companies that I know that are making millions of dollars a day in revenue. Just selling e-commerce is like a day, not even a month or a week. This is like, and yeah, just keep it simple. Figure out what you want to do. Figure out what you're willing to sacrifice. It might seem like I gave a talk in MMU before comparing these two entrepreneurs. One is Anthony Tan of Grab. Companies worth billions of dollars. They're worth $1 billion. On the other hand, is Ai Ching from PictoChat. She owns 50% of the company. Her husband owns 50% of the company. They have millions of users basically paying subscription. Who would you rather be? Yeah,
I see.
there's no right or wrong. That's just your choice.
I see.
But what I'm trying to say that there are more than one choice. There are always more ways to skin a cat. That whatever works. Yeah. And like the same case where people ask like, oh, you know, a bubble tea is a fad. Would you want to be the person that was like riding that fad? You would. It's like, why not? Sure, your business might crash in 1 year or less than that, but it's like you will have recouped and you have made your money.
Okay. Do you have any advice for the younger generation?
Stay curious, man. Like really, like
Sounds good, man. Like that's a piece of advice.
yeah, like I was recently watching a lot of stuff of Steve Jobs and the convention speech that he gave in Stanford actually still resonate a lot. Stay hungry, stay foolish. But I also think, yeah, stay hungry, definitely do that, stay foolish. But I think also just like be curious as possible because again, you never know what you never know. There is stuff that I'm constantly amazed with in terms of what human potential is. It's just because of everything is like curiosity.
I see.
Yeah.
Cool. The 2 last questions.
Okay.
What do you hope that your legacy will be upon this planet?
Carbon neutrality. I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really have a. Yeah, I don't have a. No, I don't want to die by 2030. I don't really have a goal for a legacy because I think we need to stay in the now. So what I think about legacy when you can think about the future, you think of what you do, but enjoy the now.
Enjoy it now.
Yeah.
Amen. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for a wonderful interview.
No problem. Cheers,
Okay.
mate. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. That's a wrap. Okay. Wow.